Welcome to the Soulcery Podcast, your sacred space to delve into spiritual tools, topics, and practices that will illuminate your path of soul remembering and healing. I'm your host, Lígia Costa, a soul guide, alchemist, soul writing coach, and the creator of the T.R.U.S.T Pathway. I'm deeply grateful to have you here with me. Together, we will embark on a profound exploration of self-discovery and healing, unlocking the secrets that lie within. Hello and welcome to another episode of the Soulcery Podcast. And today I am going to talk about the difference between an empath and a highly sensitive person. Because although they are very, very similar, I feel there is a lot of confusion about these two traits, both inherited. They are both inherited traits. We are born with them, but they are not the same. And yes, you can be born a highly sensitive person and be an empath, but you can be a highly sensitive person and not be an empath. And you can be an empath and not be a highly sensitive person. So yeah, I decided to just have a quick conversation just to, again, demystify the confusion, the myths, and disrupt some of the beliefs and bring more clarity. And maybe you are someone like me who wondered about these terms and wondered if they apply to you. And what is the difference? What is the difference between being an empath and being a highly sensitive person? When you hear the term empath, normally what comes to mind is possibly, this image of fortune tellers or mind readers or something related to this new age philosophy where empaths kind of have this superpower, per se, where they can know and feel things that other people can't. And the word empath can have different meanings. And mean different things for different people. For instance, for me, not that I believe being empath is having a superpower, but yes, it's having some sort of awareness or inner knowing of things that perhaps someone that doesn't have this trait or gift of being an empath, they don't realize about it. But again, it's very, very similar with being a highly sensitive person. So I will do my best to explain in this episode what are the differences between being an empath and being a highly sensitive person. To begin with, as I said, the word empath can have different meanings because empathy is the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. Being an empath is kind of being a mirror to other people. But some people define empaths as people with higher than average sensitivity to other people's feelings. Although some other people define empaths as those with paranormal sensitivity to feelings and energies of people, of animals, of plants, of locations even, kind of to the point that is considered having a psychic ability. But what both of these definitions have in common is that an empath is someone who intuitively knows and intuitively senses a situation involving another human being and has the ability to absorb the emotions involved. And according to an author called Judith Orloff, she outlines 10 key traits that all empaths share. Empaths are highly sensitive. Empaths absorb other people's emotions. Many empaths are introverted. Empaths are highly intuitive. Empaths need alone time to recharge, to recalibrate, to rest. Empaths can become overwhelmed in intimate relationships. Empaths are targets for energy vampires, which are those individuals that are quite toxic and they come to us with a lot of problems and kind of just suck away all our energy. That's what's called energy vampires. Empaths become replenished in nature. Empaths have highly tuned senses, and empaths have huge hearts, but sometimes give too much. And some of these key traits are so very, very similar with being a highly sensitive person. That's why there is this confusion. But yeah, empaths can absorb the emotions of not only people, but also animals. And also there are different kinds of empaths. So we have the emotional empaths, we have the physical empaths. So basically emotional, they sense and they absorb other people's emotions. There are the physical empaths, where if an empath touches someone, they can feel their emotions as well, but it's more like physically they have to touch or even a location or an animal, and has the ability to heal through touch as well. Then there is the intuitive empaths. They just have this intuitive knowing. There are the plant empaths and the animal empaths. And while a person can embody more than one type of empath, it's rare to exhibit all these traits together. Like, it's very rare to exhibit having the capacity to be all these type of empaths in one time. So I believe I am an intuitive empath and emotional empath. I just have an inner knowing. I just know things. I just sense things even before they happen. I'm very intuitive, so I have premonitory dreams as well. And I absorb other people's emotions to the point that I feel so tired afterwards and I need a lot of rest. But as I said, there are many, many similarities between being an empath and being a highly sensitive person. However, although it sounds familiar, they are somewhat different. Because even though empaths possess many qualities that HSPs possess, such as having that increased sensitivity and also the ability to absorb emotions and feelings like a sponge, HSPs is like having the same traits tenfold. It's just amplified. So for instance, being a highly sensitive person, and as I touched in a previous episode, it's a trait that only about 20% of people are born with. And basically, as HSPs, we experience the world in a more intense way because we have more sensitive nervous systems. That's why highly sensitive people have a lot more sensitivity with sensory stimuli, meaning lights, sounds, smells, touch, social stimuli. All of these things can just exacerbate how we feel because it's too stimulating, it's too much to process, and our nervous systems just react very, very quickly to it. We have low capacity to deal with these stimuli. And so, for instance, in a social setting, it's really hard for us to be in a place where there are a lot of physical stimuli, meaning light, sound, smells and stuff, and then be in close proximity with other people where we are basically absorbing their emotions, absorbing their energy, and if they are speaking and being judgmental and being critics, it makes things even worse. So we absorb all of that. So the way you know you are a highly sensitive person is to look at 4 key ways that makes us different, makes people HSPs different from non-HSPs. And you can be an empath and not be a highly sensitive person. So highly sensitive people use areas of the brain that are associated with deep processing. We are very, very logic. We reflect a lot. We have a very rich inner world, and we spend a lot of time alone to think. We just think deeply about everything, especially when things bother us or we are uncertain about certain things and we are too sensitive to the emotions, so we feel somehow it's our fault. Then we kind of like lose ourselves into trying to process so very deeply everything that happened in the scenario. Also, highly sensitive people are more vulnerable to overstimulation because of our sensory sensitivity, as I explained before. We also have stronger emotional reactions and higher levels of empathy. We are the ones that when someone says a joke making fun of other people, we don't laugh. We are the ones that if we feel someone tripping over and falling and everybody else laughs at it, we are the ones that instinctively we just run for it and try to help someone, and instead of laughing about it. And in this case, my kids and even my husband, they make fun of me because we are watching like those YouTube funny videos with all these people, like these videos of people just tripping over or having these silly things happen to them. And whilst they are all laughing about it, I'm the one like, oh no, they probably hurt themselves, or like I'm not laughing. I don't find it funny at all. And also, highly sensitive people kind of notice the subtitles. We notice the things that other people might miss. We are very, very intuitive. We just know things and we sense things and we just see things with other lenses. And most people miss that. And then we are told that we are overreacting or being oversensitive or being too dramatic or worrying too much. So these are the traits that all highly sensitive people have, and that makes the difference between being a highly sensitive person and being an empath. Because while some people might not only have HSP traits, others might be both highly sensitive and empathetic. The thing is, like, currently there is no scientific test or anything that you can do to determine if you are an empath. And that's why it gets so confused. The traits of being an empath get so confused to those of having highly sensitivity, because the traits are quite similar. They are very, very similar. And the way of really understanding if you have one or the other, or if you have both, is to actually be a bit introspective about it, reading about it so you know what are the traits that you are embodying, and consulting with a therapist. Because if you consider yourself, for example, as being a highly sensitive person, because your nervous system is very reactive, you get very overwhelmed with social stimuli and outside stimuli, and you need a lot of time to rest, to recharge, and you absorb other people's emotions, and you get really stressed really easily, overwhelmed really easily. If you consider yourself as being a highly sensitive person, you might also be an empath. The intuition is there, the just knowing, the sense of knowing, the absorption of the emotions are there, but you might not necessarily be a psychic. Right? You might just have a lot of empathy in you and not necessarily be a psychic. But the thing that is both common for both empaths and highly sensitive, and that has to be taken into consideration, is that the needs are very important, especially the need to be alone, the need to rest a lot, the need to possibly have more sleep than other people, the need to create boundaries. Those needs are really, really important for us to live in a more aligned and more happy and stress-free life. So whether you are an empath or a highly sensitive person, it's really important that you have those needs into consideration and that you respect and honor those emotions and those needs. So I would like to know. Let me know in the comments in the podcast episode. What traits do you think you have? Do you feel like you are a highly sensitive person? Do you feel you are an empath? Or do you feel you have both? I definitely have both. I'm an empath, but I was born highly sensitive. My nervous system is really wired to react. It's very, very sensitive. And that, I think, that is the major difference between being an empath and being highly sensitive. Empaths are not necessarily, although they are sensitive, they don't necessarily have reactive nervous systems and get overwhelmed with a lot of stimuli. It's more as in being highly attuned with their senses, with their intuition, with the inner knowing, being introverted. Many empaths are introverted. Highly sensitive are confused to being introverted and shy, and that's not necessarily the truth. I'm highly sensitive. I don't consider myself as being introverted. I like to socialize with people. I'm not shy or introverted when I'm in a new environment and I need to meet people. I actually start conversations. I'm very outgoing. I'm very chatty, but I'm highly sensitive. I have to be very aware that as soon as I connect with another human being, here I am feeling all of their emotions, especially when, and this is the thing, people kind of feel that, so they start out of nowhere, even without knowing me, they start telling me all about their lives, all about their problems, and I have to be very aware to maintain that energy protection and create that emotional boundary. Otherwise, I will feel their emotions and then believe it's my own emotions when they are not, and then I tend to need a lot of rest. But I think the major key here, the major key difference between being an empath and highly sensitive is the nervous system sensitivity. But I do, in my case, I do have both. I was born highly sensitive and I'm an empath as well. I'm very highly attuned with my senses. I'm highly attuned with the environments around me. Yes, they are heightened by my highly sensitivity because I'm always scanning for threats. I'm always scanning for something to happen. But then my intuition kicks in and kind of guides me if something is dangerous, something feels off, if something actually brings me joy and makes me excited. It's just having that awareness of where you fall, because you can be empath and not highly sensitive. You can be highly sensitive. Most likely you are an empath because you have the empathy, not necessarily having the psychic abilities, but you can also be both. So it's just knowing that, but also no matter what you are, it's just having that awareness of not identifying with it, not labeling yourself with it. It's just, yes, I know I have these traits. Now I know how to nurture my emotions, my body, respect my needs, respect my emotions so that I don't feel so overwhelmed or so tired, or create boundaries around me that will respect my needs. And this is what this conversation wants to bring. It's nothing to do with labels and identifying, because we know from so many conversations we had in this podcast, to live a soul-led life is to be true to our soul self, our soul essence. And for that, we have to strip all the roles, all the masks, all the identities we identify with. So this is not the point of you labeling yourself or identifying yourself as being an empath or a highly sensitive person. Is knowing I have these inherent traits. Because I know I have these traits, I know how to look after my energy, my emotions, and my body. That is the point. I hope this conversation was helpful. Let me know in the comment section of this podcast if it was, or reach out on social media. And before I love you, I leave you, I'll pull a card of the T.R.U.S.T journaling deck. And the card that I pulled is from the Thrive suite. And the soul inquiry is, do I believe I have the power to create my reality? Do I believe I have the power to create my reality? And the affirmation is, I am a powerful creator. Thank you so much for listening to this episode, and I will see you on the next one. Thank you for listening to the Soulcery Podcast and for holding space for this conversation. It is truly magical to be able to walk with you on this journey of soul healing and inner transformation. If you resonated with this episode and found it valuable, I would be grateful if you could leave a review on iTunes. Your feedback helps me reach more souls searching for guidance and healing. For more guidance and soul wisdom to support soul awakening women through the journey of alchemy, please visit my website www.lisiacosta.co.uk. Love and healing to all. See you on the next one.